up, let it roll. Stars and stripes in my soul. Steel toes on, boots in the gravel. Heartland truth on every channel. Open Bible, flag on the wall. We say what we believe or we don't talk at all. This is red, white, and raise hell. Cowboy hat, church bell can't scare us into silence. We were born to rebel from the back road to the beltway. We won't fade, we won't fail. Proud, loud, standing tall. Red, white, and raise hell. We back the bad, we guard the border. We love our guns and law and order. They try to shame every word we say, but we don't bow down, we just press play. This is red, white, and raise hell. Cowboy hat, church bell can't scare us into silence. We were born to rebel from the back road to the bell. Hey, we won't fade, we won't fail. Proud, loud, standing tall. Red, white, and raise hell. You can cancel the show, but not the crowd. We're still here, still talking loud. Gander the free on every spell. Hit that mic, host, let the truth ring out. This is red, white, and raised hell. Cowboy hat, church bell can't scare us into silence. We were born to rail from the back road to the beltway. We won't fade, we won't fail. Proud, loud, standing tall. Red, white, and raised hell.
All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Appreciate you being in. Take a look at that screen right now. I'm calling it that, and I don't think that's an exaggeration. I think what we saw in New Jersey over the last 3 nights is a declaration of Democrat war. I can also say that I firmly believe this is a war that they have absolutely no earthly idea why they started it, because there is not a freaking chance in all of hell that they have of winning it. But they declared war at the Delaney Hall U.S. Immigration Detention Center in Newark, New Jersey. They started a war. They elevated from protest to straight up attacks, battle. Weapons, teeth, punching, kicking, everybody that they could possibly find with whom they disagreed. Absolutely repugnant. We're going to talk about that today, and as you can see on the bottom of the screen, I'm going to give live stream time to Claire Lopez, who was supposed to have it on Friday, but we had our glitch fest on Friday, but that's just kind of where we are. So good morning, everybody. Thanks for being with us. It's a war. I don't know about you, but every time I turned on my television over the course of the last 3 days, or logged on really, and kind of saw the current events of what's happening, what's trending, if you will, I got angrier and angrier at the elevation of the protesting. You know, we can't even call it protesting anymore. We can't even call it that. Let's be 100% honest what we're talking about here. We're talking about rioting. This is not protesting, it's rioting, and rioting demands riot response. And that means it is time to put away the kid gloves and bring out the brass freaking knuckles. All right? Sorry, but not sorry. It is time when lives of law enforcement and innocent Americans are in jeopardy. It is time to defend against the threat in a means that is appropriate and reciprocal. As dangerous as they have made it for the agents and for local police and state police, for example, up in New Jersey, that it's time to respond equally. And that is use whatever tools are at your disposal to make sure that these officers, these agents do not end up getting seriously hurt or worse, because that's exactly what is coming here. And in fact, that's exactly what the threat was. Nothing angered me more over the weekend than yesterday morning. I don't know what time it was, 10:20, something like that, whatever. I turned on Fox News Sunday, which was whatever. That's Shannon Bream's show. It's actually a pretty good one. She's pretty straight-laced reporter type when she gets in there. I mean, you can tell she works for Fox, but she's not a firebrand at all. She is just a very intelligent, well-prepared deliverer of what's going on, and then she facilitates discussions among her interview subjects, obviously, and then the panel that they do. She does a very nice job. So I turned that on yesterday. I don't know, it's 10:20, 10:30, whatever it was. I just gotten home from taking Maggie the dog for a walk, and it's on my screen. And so it was, my wife already had it on, and so I sat down. And right about the time I sat down, they were starting this panel discussion again, whatever time it was. And they had a host of individuals who are irrelevant, really, because the only one of the panel members that I actually cared about was the first one who spoke on the subject of what's going on at Delaney Hall in Newark, New Jersey. And I don't know if I should give you the backdrop and show you some of the videos first, or if we should just, if I should roll. I'm going to roll with this and we'll come to it. So the only one that I cared about was Juan Williams. Now, you might remember Juan Williams. He used to be a much more prominent figure on Fox News before they got sick and tired of subjecting the viewership to his radical leftism. But now he's still on occasionally. And then this is one of those occasions, okay? I watched that filthy, disgusting, smarmy son of a bee for I don't know, a minute and a half or whatever. And I could feel, I know when I get angry, I could feel my face getting warm a little bit, probably turning red a little bit. And I could not freaking believe my ears. I very, very quickly, because you can't record it. Never mind it. I don't care about the tech problems or tech issues. I recorded my television screen with my phone, basically. If you try to record live television on your phone, by doing your screen record, it won't do it. It just gives you a black box. It's for copyright purposes. So I just held up my phone to my TV screen and I played it back and I recorded it. And then I recorded a video response to it because I was that upset by it. So I'm going to play that for you. Not my video thing, because I'm going to discuss it live here. But I want you to see what Juan Williams said. The obligatory liberal on the panel, who is just about as, like I said, disgusting and repugnant and filthy and slimy as any leftist working in media on MSNBC or MS Now or CNN or any of the rest of them. He just happens to have his platform on Fox, and it is just, like I said, it's going to, you do what you want with this, but here's what I'm going to do with it. So let's watch it. So there's Shannon Bream, and I'm only going to give you this short segment, the Juan Williams portion of the panel discussion that they had yesterday. So just watch this. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. And by the way, good morning, chatters. You're who I'm talking to right now in particular, because I want to see what the chatters in the room right now have to say about this. But watch and listen.
Wednesday.
I'll kill your whole family. Your whole family's dead. Come on. Children, your wife, come all dead. Punch it, my boy. I have your face, mother. You're dead.
I will kill your whole bleeping family. Your whole bleeping family is dead. Your children and wife are dead. All of you are going to be dead. Juan, what do we do with that?
Well, that's unacceptable. I mean, that's just wrong. The thing is, look, we are in polarized political times, and the immigration issue is one that triggers a lot of anger in people, because there's a certain human element to it, that the feeling that people who are here illegally, but not only that, but just immigrants in general, are not always the wealthiest, most connected people. And now there's the sense that they are being picked on in even a vindictive sense by this administration. This week, the federal judge said that Kilmar Abreu Garcia, and that whole long episode was an episode defined by the administration's vindictiveness, and he was released on that basis. You think back to Minnesota and the events there, and people standing up again and saying, don't do it. It's the administration has become overly aggressive. It's okay to go after criminals. You just heard what Mark-Wayne Mullen was saying. Everybody's, get rapists and criminals off the streets. We're for it. But when you start going after people who have been long-term residents of the United States, people who are dreamers, I think there's a sense, in these detention centers where they're forcing people to sign things allegedly to agree to leave the country, people feel like this is an authoritarian excess.
Oh, okay. Well, and certainly they're showing up. And
All right, I'm going to stop right there, because what everybody else has to say there does not matter. I'm going to ask you very directly. What did you notice? What was the first thing that you noticed about what Juan Williams had to say there? He started out giving what might have been, had he not been a leftist piece of ish, he started out saying the right thing, that was unacceptable. And of course, we're talking about the rioter. We're going to call them what they are, rioters, not protesters. The rioter threatening to kill an ICE agent and his family, his wife and his children, he said very directly, and it's because I know who you are, quote, I have your face, mother effer. I know your face. After that threat to this agent and his family, Juan Williams did what? Let's watch this part again, the very beginning part of this, okay? So bear with me.
I think this was Wednesday.
I'll kill your whole family. Your whole family's dead. Come on. Children, your wife, come on. All dead. Punch it. My boy, I have your face, mother. You're dead.
I will kill your whole bleeping family. Your whole bleeping family is dead. Your children and wife are dead. All of you are going to be dead. Juan, what do we do with that?
Okay. So there's the setup. Anybody with an ounce of dignity, an ounce of compassion, an ounce of common sense, an ounce of humanity would see that and say, holy crap, I hope he is arrested. He is charged with felony intimidation, felony threats. I hope that individual who is obviously an unhinged lunatic rioter, I hope he is put away for a very, very long time, if for no other reason than to send a message to all the rest of the rioters. There is a line you don't cross, and that was just crossed. That would be how I would approach it. But okay, Juan Williams isn't me. He has a little bit of a different worldview. But she played that very direct, disturbing, unhinged message from that lunatic and then said, Juan, what do we do about this? Now watch. Put a stopwatch on it if you want to, by the way, but watch the response again, the very beginning.
Well, that's unacceptable. I mean, that's just wrong. The thing is,
that was it. That was it. Quote, well, that's just wrong. That was unacceptable. Then he immediately starts his rant as to why it was not wrong and why it was totally acceptable. That son of a bitch in that video threatened to kill an agent's wife and children. And he knows who he is because I have your face, mother effer. I don't know why that particular agent didn't have a mask. I'm assuming that's the reason why. The lunatic said, I have your face. But that video was just played for Juan Williams on live television. And he starts out with, well, that's just unacceptable. That is wrong. And then immediately, like in 0.12 seconds, starts to tell us why it was not unacceptable and why it was not wrong. And then he proceeded immediately to blame all of it on the Trump administration. Did he give 1 second's worth of concern to the agent who was just threatened, whose family has just been threatened with harm? 1 second about the masks, why these agents have to wear masks, because of exactly what was just not implied, stated directly by the lunatic, right? Did he give 1 second of commentary on that? Did he give 1 second of commentary on the fact that stuff was being burned, fires were being started, people were being assaulted by the rioters who are not just, New Jersey residents who are really upset about the criminal aliens who are behind bars in the Delaney Detention Center there in Newark. Really, really worried about the El Salvadorians and the Guatemalans and the Hondurans and the Venezuelans and the Iranians and the Syrians and all of the other illegals who come into places like New York and New Jersey. They come from Central American countries, Latin American countries, Middle Eastern countries, European countries, African countries. They come from all over, and they are drug traffickers. They're human traffickers. They're gang members. They are cartel members. They're terrorists. They got all of these people. We got agents doing their job round the clock to round these people up and get them out of this country to protect American citizens. And they are threatening to kill all of those agents. And then Juan Williams, when presented with that, says, well, that's just wrong. That's unacceptable. And then proceeds to tell us why it's totally acceptable to threaten those agents.
Look, we are in polarized political times, and the immigration issue is one that triggers a lot of anger in people because there's a certain human element to it, the feeling that
there's nothing human about that sorry son of a bitch. Juan, you sorry son of a bitch. All right? I've got your face, mother effer. Your family is dead. Sounded like Al freaking Capone. Your family dead. I want them all dead. It does. It sounded like a mafia member. And you're saying, well, people are triggered. There's anger. Triggered by what, you piece of ish? Triggered by what? By the law? Triggered by federal goddamn law. Congress passes laws. The law says you can't come here illegally without permission. Congress. And then law enforcement is up to the cops. Local, county, state, and federal. Enforcement of the law is not optional. It's mandatory. And these guys are threatening to kill the families of law enforcement. Are you out of your mind? Well, people get triggered. No, this is not people being triggered. These are dangerous lunatics who need to be treated as dangerous lunatics. But blame Trump a little bit more.
People who are here illegally, but not only that, but just immigrants in general.
Go to hell, you lying son of a bitch. This is what I screamed at my television yesterday morning, and every time I see it, I'm the one being triggered. Oh, he just said, it's not even illegal immigrants, but just immigrants in general. What immigrants are being targeted in any way, shape, or form? You lying piece of crap. No, just immigrants. Yeah, I see Bernie Moreno, who's an immigrant to this country, all of the time being harassed for being an immigrant. It is illegals. You always drop the modifier. Every one of you leftist pieces of freaking crap that I would... Every single one of you, every last one of you tries to drop the word illegal when you talk about all of this. It is 100% about legality. Again, the law that none of you bastards on the left respect. And the enforcement of the law by law enforcement officers who put it all on the line to protect sorry asses like you.
Are not always the wealthiest, most connected people. And now there's the sense that they are being picked on in even a vindictive sense by this administration.
They're being picked on. They're being picked on by being told, you broke the law. Here's the consequence for the law. What the flying F does that mean? Is the shoplifter who gets caught carrying $900 worth of stuff out of a store and then arrested being picked on by the police? Is the car thief, the carjacker, the mugger? What do you mean picked on? When you break laws, there are consequences, and that means being detained and held until you can have a trial and then be thrown in jail if you're an American, or you be deported the hell out of this country if you're a foreign national. That's not being picked on. That's called laws and law enforcement. You're defending rioters, all because you hate Donald Trump. It's the same reason you're pathetic, despicable, disgusting party, and you're all of the above. It's the same reason all of you are backing a Nazi and a communist and a wife cheater, adulterer like Graham Plattner in Maine. Hey, as long as he opposes Trump, we'll nominate Satan his goddamn self. And I'm sorry about the GDs, but we'll nominate Satan himself as long as he's against Trump. He could be flying the Nazi flag off of his truck and will suddenly drop our opposition to Nazism. As long as he's against Trump, he can be flying the hammer and sickle off of the other side of the truck. A Nazi communist, which is what he is. And we're A-okay with that as long as he hates Trump. That's Juan Williams' actual belief system here. As long as you know all of these rioters are against Trump, we will defend them. More of this idiot.
This week, the federal judge said that Kilmar Abreu Garcia, and that whole long episode was an episode defined by the administration's vindictiveness. And a
left-wing judge didn't like the fact that the MS-13 human trafficking piece of human flotsam and jetsam, Kilmar Abreu Garcia, didn't like that he was actually being held to account and deported. And that means it's okay? That means it's okay. We should just keep more MS-13 members who are human traffickers. He was caught on video trafficking 8 people into the United States. He was on video on a traffic stop. Body cam video. He's a criminal piece of human shish. And that's who you're using to defend your position that illegal aliens should be allowed to stay and that trying to deport them is vindictiveness? Listen to yourself.
Released on that basis. You think back to Minnesota and the events there and people standing up again and saying, don't do it. It's the administration
standing up and trying to kill cops, you son of a bitch. Renee Good is dead because of Renee goddamn Good. Not because of a police officer, a CBP, or an ICE agent. She's dead because she tried to kill somebody with her 4,000-pound weapon. You're still playing that harp? Sorry, we're not singing. Alex Preddy is dead because Alex Preddy decided to interfere physically and obstruct a lawful arrest and actions of CBP agents while armed. He effed around and he found freaking out exactly as it should have been. And you're still playing that freaking tune.
Become overly aggressive. It's okay to go after criminals. You just heard what Mark Wayne Mullen was saying. Everybody's, get rapists and criminals off the streets. We're for it. But
you're not for that either. You complain every time one of them, you won't say a word. When's the last time you said the name of Sheridan Gordon's killer? When's the last time you said the name of Laken Riley's killer, of Rachel Morin's killer, of Kate Steinley's killer? When's the last time you talked about the repercussions and the enforcement of law against those individuals by the criminal justice system. You haven't said one freaking word about that. And unless we get these bastards out of our country before they kill, it will just continue again and again and again. How does Fox News platform this son of a... Why? How? Does this guy... You have enough of this 24/7 on the communist news network CNN. You have this 24/7 on MS Now. You have it every day in the New York Times and the Washington Post. You don't need to give leftists more platforms. But they put this son of a bee on Fox, and here we are.
You start going after people who have been long-term residents of the United States.
Long-term residence doesn't mean legal, you son of a bitch. You don't, this is the point. They're not a resident when you're an alien invader. Look at the law. 8 U.S. Code 1325. It is a crime to come into this country and become a, quote, long-term resident without permission. Look it up. Just because somebody squats in your house, I hope somebody invades your home tomorrow and stays a couple of days and is termed a long-term resident, and they get to stay with you. Would that be okay with you? Or would you be calling one of those badged, armed agents that you hate so much to come and get this invader out of your home? What would you do, Juan Williams? Tell me right now what you would do if 1 or 2, or let's make this proportional. Biden let 20 million illegal aliens into this freaking country in 4 years. He wanted to continue letting 5,000 new ones per day and then call that border control. All right? Let's make that proportional. Let's bring 50 of them into Juan Williams' home. They broke in without your permission, smashed a window, kicked the door in, whatever they did. And they took up residence while you were on the air on Fox preaching all of this crap. And when you go home after that, you see them there. What are you doing? Welcome, my residents, my brothers and sisters, welcome. I don't want to pick on you by calling police, so I'm going to let you stay here. Is that what you're going to do? Or are you going to pick on them by calling law enforcement? You know, the uniforms, the badges, the guns that you hate so much. You're going to call police to remove them? Why would you pick on them in such ways? Well, that would be unacceptable for you to pick on people who broke into your home and decided to take up residence where you live. That would be unconscionable.
People who are dreamers. I think there's a sense, you know, in these detention centers where they're forcing people to sign things allegedly to agree to leave the country.
That's called self-deportation, you stupid bastard. Telling them, look, you're illegal, you're here, you're in detention. You can either sign this and go by yourself and self-deport, and then maybe have an inkling of a chance to get on a list to come back into this country at another time, or you can make us drag you out, in which case you're never, ever going to have a chance to come back here again. You'll be blackballed forever from the United States of America. Being forced to sign something? In what context?
People feel like this is an authoritarian excess.
Authoritarian excess? Enforcing American immigration law? Again, U.S. Code 8/1325. Read it. I get so tired of listening to the excuses that the unlawful left, the un-American left, that they come up with to justify supporting criminal activity while opposing lawful activities because they hate Trump that freaking much. You know, that's something that the Trump administration, that's something that the Trump existence, Donald Trump existence, his entry into politics in 2015 is done over the last 11 years. What Donald Trump has done is he hasn't really even pulled back the curtain, if you will, or the facade or whatever on what radical Democrats really think. He's made them do it. Trump's existence, the TDS, the Trump derangement syndrome that people talk about all the time, and they use it as a meme. They use it as a comment comeback on an online debate on social media. I'm telling you, and I've talked about this so many times over the last 11 years, that there will be medical journals, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but in a while, when they look back at the change in psychological makeup of the liberal, progressive, communist left in the United States, their brain has a psychological impairment, a disorder of some sort. When they see Donald Trump and they hear his voice, something is triggered inside of it. It's a derangement. It's real. It's not just some sort of, like I said, an online slogan. It's real. That is being exposed every day. Trump's existence and Trump's candidacy back in 2015, 2016, his first presidency, then of course the run back and the whole 2020 stolen election. And then, here we are. I mean, all of it, honestly, it has made them basically just peel off any fake mask, Scooby-Doo mask that had them as an American citizen that cared about the Constitution, constitutional rights, civil rights. It just peeled it all back, and the disgusting, repugnant ghoul underneath has been revealed. That's who these people are. And they have declared war on the United States of America, on decent society, on American citizens, all in service to globalist agendas. Because it's globalists who are funding the lunatics outside of Delaney Hall there in Newark, New Jersey, just like all of them on the ground in Minnesota, all of the places where any sort of anti-ICE activities are taking place. This is well organized and well funded. These aren't just neighbors coming, boy, I don't really like the fact that they're holding a bunch of criminal legal aliens in our detention center over there. Place where detentions happen, at a detention center. It's a law enforcement location, facility. I don't like the fact that they're keeping detainees in a detention center. Let's go protest. These are not Newark, New Jersey residents. These are people being bussed and flown in from around the country, if not the world, and funded well, which I have got information on. I mean, let me give you a little bit about what's actually been happening there. Nick Sorter is an independent journalist and one of the most popular ones in the country. He's got 1.5 million followers. He has done some extraordinary work over the course of the weekend. He was videotaping so much of it from the very beginning. And I don't even know if I can go through all of them, but I want you to see some of the rioting through the lens of Nick Sorter. And again, this goes back to Friday, Saturday, and through yesterday as well. So let me see if I can let me see if I can give you at least some of this. My goodness, I mean, this is a treasure trove of video. It's just so much information here that I really want to share with you. And we're just going to scroll it together. So let me share this tab with you. Dylan has the day off, by the way, so I'm firing all this stuff up here myself, especially because we're only going to do this for an hour. I'm going to give Claire Lopez that place that she lost on Friday because of our technical glitch, but I do want to share this with you now. So here is just a little bit of, in case you don't know exactly, again, what we're talking about. Let's see. So this is from May 29th. So by the way, I didn't even mention that today is the first day of groom. And I don't mean as in bride and groom. I mean as in groomer. It's the month that shall remain nameless. I'm going to do my very best to not acknowledge June's existence over the course of the next 30 days. I've long said I want to skip now from May to July. Just I'd rather have an 11-month year and take shame month out of play. But today's the 1st. So the 29th was what? That was Friday, right? Yeah, that was Friday. Just had to look at the calendar real quick. I wish I could show you my Trump calendar. Anyway, so this is some of this is from the 29th, and we're just going to go forward. What you see right now is not protesting. What you see right now is obstruction of law enforcement activity. It is punishable. It is punishable by arrest, trial, and then jail. This is obstruction of law enforcement. I'm sorry, I'm going to get really. I've spent the entire weekend fired up over this. Look at it. No American law enforcement officers should have to deal with this crap. No, none of them. But as you can see on that one, the DOJ just arrested and charged a rioter who bit and kicked agents here in Newark. Great, keep his feral ass locked up. Yeah, amen to that. What do we have here? Also on Friday, white leftist rioter goes on a racist tirade against multiple black Newark City workers who are setting up a barricade at the ICE Newark, calling them slaves. Once again, showing they discard black people as soon as they are not useful to them. That's what they do. New Jersey State Police helping ICE get their vehicles through the gate at ICE Newark. A massive, unexpected change. Yes, local law enforcement and state law enforcement being deployed to help federal law enforcement is how it's supposed to be done. They try very hard to stop that, or not deploy that. Talking about Governor Mikey Sherrill, just like Governor Tim Walz. All right, this might be worth a quick look-see. This is the part I was talking about when I said we've got a little bit of the information about how well funded and financed and supplied and equipped these people are. This is a Nick Sorter exclusive. He infiltrated the Antifa camp at Newark ICE with a hidden camera to reveal tens of thousands of dollars worth of equipment, food, and even riot equipment supplied. Hot food delivered every hour. Arrest the funders and this will stop. He is, of course, correct.
That's what I'm saying. If it's new, I know there's something to talk about. If someone else is coming to me, and they're not actually.
Look at all of that. I think that's just a neighborhood group of people are going out there and saying, I don't like the detainees being held in the detention center. Look at all of the supplies.
Do you know if there's hand sanitizer anywhere? Like, or wipes or something? I'm sorry, what? Medical tent? Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. Go to the medical tent.
We'll skip ahead just because I want to get to some more of the video of the actual massive riots. Mass panic happening outside ICE as New Jersey State Police order leftists to disperse their camp immediately. And of course, they did not, and they would not.
I want like the crowd to stay together over there to the left.
I'm just kind of sticking around. Let me give you a little bit more. Flashbangs and pepper balls to try to break these people up.
I got you.
If you look at these well-funded, sorry sons of bitches wearing gas masks, they come prepared because they know pepper balls are going to be dispersed. And tear gas is going to be used. I mean, I could just go through these again from Friday to Saturday. I mean, this just went on and on and on. And I don't know if I can get ahead here enough to get to some of the fires that they started. So this is daytime on Saturday. Going to scroll through here. This is a good part of the story I'll come back to.
I have your face, motherfucker. You're dead. Dead.
That's the one that Juan Williams would not condemn. Juan Williams didn't say a one word. He just said, well, you know, this issue is one that triggers a lot of people. He threatened to kill a man, his wife, and his children because I have your face now, mother effer, and they would not condemn it. Well, the police condemned it. He has been arrested. Now, we'll see what the criminal justice system of New Jersey does with that, but Kash Patel surged resources and made sure that guy was found and arrested. So that's good news. Major clashes. This is Saturday. Trying to use those bicycle rails to move the rioters back. This should not happen in the United States of America. This should not be allowed to happen. New Jersey police have lost control, being overwhelmed. Violent clashes underway. I said it. Look at that. Look at that line. I said it before and I'll say it again. They have declared war on us, war on the United States, war on U.S. law, war on the Constitution, war on law enforcement, war on you and me, American citizens, in favor and in service to global citizens who are not citizens at all, global invaders that they have allowed to come into this country and now they defend. Look at this. Tell me that doesn't look like Beirut instead of Newark, New Jersey. And the enemies are not foreign nationals. These are the paid American thugs who are defending the foreign nationals. Look at that. They're picking up the tear gas canisters and throwing them back at the police. Look at this. Rioters have thrown chemical munitions at separate local correctional facilities. Devolving situation. Antifa rioters now attacking police horses outside of high school. Attacking the horses. Large pieces of wood and rocks thrown at the horse's head. Others try to get in their face and disorient them. These are not look at that line there by Nick. These are not protesters. These are militants. These are militants. These are fighters who are ready for war. What I want to know is, when the flying hell are we going to respond in kind? You try to fight war. You try to fight a war by bringing, plastic shields and bicycle racks. You're going to have to do a hell of a lot better than that. And no, I'm not calling for full-on open munition fire on these radical militants, although that's getting close, depending on how much more aggressive they get. But I am talking about using something more than tear gas that doesn't affect people who are wearing gas masks, by the way, and pepper balls and the rest, and flashbangs. I'm talking more about using what was used back in the day. Take a look at the screen right now. I have been calling for this for a very long time. This is the kind of thing that pisses a lot of people off because they have one image in their mind's eye when they think about water cannons and fire hoses. They think of black protesters being fire hosed and hit with water cannons to break up their demonstrations during the civil rights era in the South. They think that that's what the water cannons were used for, were started for. They're wrong. Water cannons have been used for crowd dispersal in countries all around the world for a couple of centuries, as long as they could generate high-powered water pressure. Since that long, because it's non-lethal or it's less lethal, and it disperses crowds. It breaks them up without you having to deploy gas without having to shoot guns, obviously. There's not enough tasers or enough power in the grid, for crying out loud, to tase all of these idiots. There are a few ways that are as effective as this, but the left there's the reason they're not being used. The left will start screaming that it's like, the Jim Crow South trying to disperse black people trying to show up to vote. But you know what? I don't care what sort of narrative they're going to use, what sort of narrative they're going to use, what sort of lies they're going to tell. Crowd control weapons include water cannons. Open them up and fire them out. You get hit by something with that sort of volume and that sort of PSI, it makes you run. Look at this. It has been used, and look at this. Water cannons have been used since the 1700s. Used for crowd control in Germany in the 1930s. They would use that as, oh, you're trying to advocate for you doing. No, it's the point. The point being that when the crowds put innocent people in harm's way and make things unsafe, including and especially for the officers, the crowds need to be dispersed. That's what this is about. Water cannons are used as crowd control weapons in protests all over the world, and most often as vehicle-mounted devices. Okay, let's freaking go. There they are. I don't care. Look at that. Flow rates, 20 liters of water per second, operating pressure of 15 bar, that's 220 PSI, can send water 67 meters, et cetera, et cetera. Knock people down with it. I don't care. Do what you have to do, because I'm sick and tired of seeing headlines like this. Rioters bit, kicked, and punched law enforcement at the New Jersey ICE facility, according to DHS Secretary Mullen. And we just saw some of that on video already. Assaulting and obstructing law enforcement is a crime and a felony. Anyone who assaults law enforcement will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Not if you can't take them into custody, Secretary Mark-Wayne Mullen. Knock them down, with high-pressured streams of water, and then tie them up. Zip ties for all. He went on to say this violence against law enforcement must end. Yeah, you're damn straight it must. There's more of this crazy video being shared by another kind of independent journalist, Julio Rojas, I'm assuming, or maybe it's Rosas. Riot police using tear gas and flashbangs to force the anti-ICE rioters away from Delaney Hall. There's more of the police line, the riot police line, trying to get these people back and away. Perfect, by the way, the name of this guy's little media company, Mostly Peaceful Media. And that's a reference back to the George Floyd riots, where the CNN reporter called it, it's pretty fiery behind us, but mostly peaceful. Fiery, but mostly peaceful. They're setting fires, but it's mostly peaceful. And it just goes on and on and on. This is the one moment in time where I had some hope. Did you see this, or have you seen this? Some of the ICE rioters were confronted by American patriots. Look at those signs on the left. See those signs? American Republic, I think it says Republicans, support ICE. I support ICE, says, and then they chanted at them. We love ICE, ICE, ICE. I want to do something more than that, more with that. I want to support that even more. I don't know if you've noticed, if you're following me on social media, but on my Facebook page, I changed my profile picture to this, which of course is the logo that I created for the t-shirts that we wore and that some of you have during our pro-ICE appreciation rally in March. I've changed my profile picture to this on Facebook. I'm going to change it on all. In fact, I think I changed it on X as well, but not to that logo, but just to a different one, just to kind of push the message. Yeah, here's my profile picture on on X. Okay, what just happened there? Hold on a second. Just trying to show the profile pic. Okay, hopefully you can see. Oh, I'm not even sharing that tab. I'm sorry, everybody. I'm trying to get to two different things here, multiple different things here. But anyway, that's oh, we're live on X. That's one of the reasons why it's doing that. But you can see the fist with the red, white, and blue fist with the support and defend ICE. This is what I want us to do. Seriously, I want us to, on social media, I want to flood. Did I share that with you? I don't know if you were able to see that one or not. But I want to flood as many different pages of social media with people scrolling their feeds on Facebook and on X and Instagram or TikTok or whatever it is that you do. And I want everybody to see these everywhere to show them that they are not winning. They are not going to stop us from supporting law enforcement. They're not going to stop us. I want to send a message to every single one of these left-wing lunatics that we will not be cowed, we will not be cornered, and we will not be defeated. They want to start war with us. The first two words that pop into my mind are bring it. And if I want to be vulgar, I'll throw an F word in front of that. Effing bring it. Bring that war to our law enforcement officers. Bring that war to my street. Bring that war to my community. Bring that war wherever you want. We will defend this country. We will defend these streets. We will defend our families. We will defend our communities. Thank you to Kash Patel, by the way, for that that very swift action. This is let me share this one again with you real quick. The one that screamed that I was so angry about Juan Williams excusing and not even condemning. That lunatic who said, I'll kill your family, I'll kill your wife, I'll kill your children. He was found quickly. The FBI and the DOJ came up in a huge way very, very quickly. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche made the announcement that Kash Patel deployed resources, and within 24 hours of finding out his name and identifying he has been arrested. Told you, Blanche posted on X Friday night, FBI just arrested the man who threatened to kill ICE officers and their families. FAFO. Todd Blanche, the acting ICE, acting Attorney General. Todd Blanche just dropped an FAFO on that raging lunatic son of a bitch. That's just outstanding. When you've got the Attorney General dropping FAFO, that's freaking awesome. Yes, I can very much dig that. I dig that louder, but so be it. But yeah, that was huge. Let me see if there was anything else worth reporting on that. Blanche had warned the day before, that is disgusting. We see his face. I promise you we will find him. When we find him, we will arrest him. Okay, so that's why he dropped the I told you and FAFO on him. The Bureau said Nick Sorter provided law enforcement the raw video, helping authorities fast-track the operation. The individual threatened violence toward one of our federal law enforcement officers and their family, and by using facial recognition technology, within 24 hours, this FBI got him. That was Kash Patel. In particular, I want to thank Acting AG Todd Blanche, who moved extremely quickly to locate, pursue, and bring this subject to justice, as well as our FBI Newark team, who executed brilliantly. Let this be a message to any criminal actor who may try something similar. You touch a cop, and this FBI will put you down. That is outstanding. That is outstanding. So I'm going to pause that half a beat. I don't know. I can get cynical sometimes. I'm sorry. I meant to show you this as well. I can get cynical sometimes. You may have noticed. Hopefully you were able to see or hear all of that. I know you couldn't see it, but the one tiny little pushback I'm going to give on it is where is the location, or where is that word about being brought to justice? Was that Kash or was that Blanche? Now I can't even find it, for crying out loud. Anyway, one of them said, One of them said, this person has been brought to justice. And I think it was Kash Patel. And oh, there it is. Okay, it was Kash Patel. Okay, I see it now. I'll highlight it so you can see where I'm following. That's the line. In particular, I want to thank Acting AG Todd Blanche, who moved extremely quickly to locate, pursue, and bring the subject to justice. Okay, that's the line that I'm just pausing on a little bit. And I'm pausing on it not to be difficult, but just to point out the obvious. Arresting him is only step one. He hasn't been brought to justice until he is tried, convicted, and sentenced to a lengthy period of time in jail to not only punish him for his threat and his intimidation and his obstruction of law enforcement in that video, but also as a lesson to so many others who might do similar things. It's unacceptable. It cannot be allowed. And I don't know what kind of judge you're going to get in Newark, New Jersey. I have no idea. But just knowing that it's New Jersey, which is every bit as blue as New York, you probably are going to have some sort of a left-wing judge there who's not going to give this guy any time at all, if he's convicted at all. So let's hold off on the back patting and the celebration about somebody being brought to justice until someone is actually brought to justice. All right. I'm going to do a couple of other things right now, including, and this one is really, really important to me. I need to remind you about our wonderful partnership with our friends at Americans for Prosperity Ohio. AFP Ohio doing phenomenal work to help make Ohio the best state that it can be, the bolder, better, bigger Buckeye state. And I share this with you every single show, advising you and inviting you and asking you to join the movement, to start at the local level. Find an AFP chapter near you, and there's one in virtually every county in the entire Northeast Ohio region. And if you're listening to me in Columbus or Youngstown or in Toledo, and you're watching this in Cincinnati, you're going to have them around you as well. All over the state of Ohio, and AFP Ohio is doing some great things to help bring about that change in economic opportunities, educational freedom, energy abundance, and government accountability. You know that. So I share that with you all of the time. But what I want to share with you now is something we just found out last week, talking with our friend, Donovan O'Neill, the state director of AFP Ohio. And that is this. That is what I'm trying to say. On Monday, June 22nd, I sent this out yesterday in our newsletter, the Strictly Speaking This Week newsletter. And I had a typo because I was weary. My eyes were crossed because I was so late on Saturday finishing things up. And I think I wrote Sunday, June 22nd. Well, Sunday would be June 21st. Monday is June 22nd. So which is it, Bob? You screwed that up in your newsletter. And yes, I did. It's a typo, my mistake. But this is the answer right here. On Monday, June 22nd, we are going to Columbus. There are going to be around 500 of us from different corners of Ohio that are going to be in Columbus for this 250th celebration event. I cannot tell you strongly enough how important it is that we go down there and show support for this. Americans for Prosperity, the Libre Initiative, and Concerned Veterans for America, celebrating America's 250th birthday in Columbus, our state capital, and AFP Ohio is a huge part of that. They have asked me to fill one bus from Northeast Ohio so that we can get our 50-member representation there on that bus, okay? You have to do this with this registration link. If you registered last week with a general registration, it did not register under my name. You have to register under my name in order to get on my bus. And I want you there because I can also tell you I have been invited to speak at this event in Columbus. Not long. There's going to be a lot of speakers and presenters, but I have asked to be one of them, and I need my crew there. So here's what you have to do. You need to go to the locals page. If you have not yet been on our locals page, locals community, go to the locals community or go to my Facebook page, Strictly Speaking with Bob France, or just Bob France. It's public. All right. And you will see, excuse me, you will see this page. Okay. To register for this event on Monday, June 22nd, it's from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. At the Huntington Field Club at Scott's Miracle Grove Field. That's the new field for the Columbus Crew, the new stadium that they built there. More information on special guests and speakers coming soon. I am one of them, like I said. Columbus is the 6th of 12 marquee events across the country that are being hosted for this event, or for this occasion, I should say. You're going to have, as you can see there on the screen, hopefully you're able to still see this, powerful conversations, interactive opportunities, dynamic atmosphere, and this is big, a connection with fellow advocates so that we can all join together to help Ohio and also to celebrate America 250. So here's the deal. If you've already registered, you see this, I want to make sure again that you're seeing the same thing that I am. Okay. Under register today, there's a little link there that if you've already registered, like last Wednesday when Donovan told us about this, or Thursday or Friday, because I gave you the link then to register, but that was a general registration. If you've already registered, click this link right here that you can see underneath register now. Already registered, it's going to open up this. Where did it go? Okay. Oh, it opened up. Did it open up a separate tab? I had this done earlier. There it is. Okay. Are you seeing this same thing? Yeah, you are. Okay, good. So it's going to take you to that field right there. If you've already registered, fine. Just enter the email address that you already used to register, along with the confirmation number that you received. See that very simple 2-field form here. If you've already registered, put your email address that you used there and your confirmation number there, and then click log in. That will identify you as being one of the Northeast Ohio Bob France registrants who can be on our bus when we go down to Columbus. By the way, did I mention the cost of this? 0.00. No cost for the bus, no cost for anything. Just come down there and be with us and support. Like I said, this is a huge deal because there's only 12 of these around the country. This is number 6, and Ohio got one of 12 for AFP, which is a national thing. AFP Ohio got its own because of the massive amount of support that it has here in the Buckeye State. So just want to say, please join us on this very important event. And if you already registered, make sure you follow the steps. I put that link to the Bob France registration on the locals page and on my Facebook page, both of them. So please make sure you are ready to join us on Monday, the 22nd. It's going to be a fantastic event. All right. Also, before we get into Claire Lopez, I want to remind you about our other partners in this endeavor to have an impact and to, yes, get ready for the battle, whatever that battle may look like as the war has been declared on us by the radical left. We've got partners behind us. And one of our partners is my friend Mark King at keepingmedicaresimple.com. I want you to call Mark King at that phone number, 440-832-8936, but not before you visit the website, keepingmedicaresimple.com. Mark and his team at Keeping Medicare Simple have been helping people for nearly 40 years navigate the complexities of Medicare to make sure that they are getting the most that they possibly can get with their insurance coverage, and to make sure they're paying the lowest possible price that they can for those things. That's what Mark does. It's complex sometimes, and it's hard to find those things. So if you are on Medicare, call Mark King and see if you can do better. If you're not yet on Medicare, call Mark King to sign up for the right plan the first time around. He represents multiple carriers. He's independent. He doesn't get a nickel from anybody. All he's going to do is help you make your decisions on what's best for you. All right. You don't pay him a nickel. Mark will work with multiple carriers, and the one that he will recommend to you is the one that you decide is the best one for you. That's how it works. Call Mark, 440-832-8936. I've been sending people to him for over 5 years. And Mark is a true patriot. He is a big, big part, by the way, of our foundational partnership. And I expect Mark King will be on that bus with us as well down to Columbus. At least that's what I'm counting on. All right. Thank you to Mark, by the way. I trust him. And as I say, you should too. So what I want to do now is I want to give you something that I was intending to give you. Now, it's already posted separately on my Rumble channel. But I meant to run this as a live interview on Friday when the Rumble/Rubble gremlins took over and I was unable to present this with you or to you, for you. So I want to give it its live stream time slot now because it's that important. As you know, President Trump is still in a very, very difficult and protracted negotiation with the Iranians on how to best end this war. And I think what you're about to hear from Claire Lopez, who is an expert in this field, is a question as to whether or not we should be pushing to quote unquote end this war or to win this war. Because the Iranians would love it if it would just end and leave things as is with respect to nuclear capabilities, because their goals may be different than you and maybe even some in the Trump administration realize. If you're not a historian, if you're not a Claire Lopez level historian, when it comes to knowing what the radicals want, the radical Islamists who actually run places like the Islamic Republic of Iran, you may not understand exactly what's coming. So Claire told me in a very important and lengthy sit down what's coming. And that's what I want to share with you right now. So for our second hour on this Monday episode, I want you to listen very, very carefully to what Claire Lopez has to say. And we'll come back after it. Okay, Claire Lopez, as promised, she's one of the most well-researched and well-respected Middle East and Islamic experts working in the world today, literally. She is the founder and the president of Lopez Liberty, LLC. She's got a mission to alert Americans to national security threats, both international and from the Islamic movement and Muslim Brotherhood and their Marxist communist collaborators in this country. From 2014 to 2020, Claire Lopez served as the vice president for research and analysis at the Center for Security Policy. She has been an instructor on Iran, rather timely, Hezbollah and the red, black, green axis. I know about the red, green axis. We're going to have to talk about the other part for understanding the threat. Formerly vice president of the Intelligence Summit, she also was a career operations officer with the CIA, a professor at the Center for Counterintelligence and Security Studies, and much, much more. But needless to say, as we're all trying to navigate this road to peace or toward an end of the Islamic threat in whatever way that, whatever manner that looks, we need a tour guide. How about that? We need a tour guide to take us down this road. We don't know where President Trump is going. We don't know what the Iranians are going to do. So let's check in with Claire Lopez and see if she does. Claire Lopez, thank you so very much for joining us. How are you?
Hey, Bob. Hi. Thank you very much. Glad to be with you once again, and couldn't be more timely, as you say.
Yeah, Claire, I wrote a piece for my newsletter, which I know you subscribe to, and I just wrote a little segment on where we are. It comes out on Sunday morning, so it was 6 a.m., and I waited until after 11 o'clock Saturday night to see what the big announcement was going to be, because, in fact, I'll share this real quick as an introduction here. On Saturday, we got this message, among others. Hopefully everybody can see that right here. Let's do that. There we go. We were told that by the president or by the press that Trump says the Iran deal reopening the Strait of Hormuz has been largely negotiated and will be announced soon. We got alerts that Vice President Vance and that Secretary of War Hegseth were on their way back to the Oval Office or the Situation Room or whatever the case was. It was going to be over in just minutes. It was kind of the vibe that they gave out. So I waited until late Saturday night to finish my article, but I went to bed incomplete. And so I put the article out, or the newsletter out, for Sunday morning at 6 a.m. incomplete, but basically saying, I want to be excited about the prospect of what we've been hearing about for the last 12 hours or so, but I'm not, because I don't think we can trust it. I don't know what to believe. And sure enough, Claire, that was Saturday. Today is Wednesday. And what do we have today? President Trump threatening to blow up Oman amid talks over the Strait of Hormuz. We were just ready for peace on Saturday. And now, not only are we still at it with Iran, but if other nations aren't cooperating to the president's satisfaction, we might have to blow up those nations as well. So, Claire, a lot of people call it the whiplash effect. I'm one of them. I'm getting jerked this way. We're about to blow them to smithereens, their bridges, their power plants. And the next day, it's, oh, we got a peace deal. It's within sight. It'll be signed here in a few days. We're all good to go. What's the real story, Claire Lopez, as you understand it?
Well, I wish I could tell you. You know, today, President Trump held a full cabinet meeting at the White House, and it was live streamed, so we could see and listen to all the cabinet members, each giving sort of an update on what they were doing, and it spanned the gamut all the way from the Small Business Administration to the Treasury, Scott Bessent, and then of course something, at least from reporters' questions, responses about Iran and where we are, and this back and forth is really something everybody is thinking about and feeling. And in part, I think it has to do with, deliberately, keeping the Iranian regime, whatever's left of it, off balance, but it keeps the rest of us off balance at
Yes.
the same time. But I think the other part of it is also that at these negotiations, I'm not even sure where they're taking place, but I believe they're indirect. They're not, face to face across the table. But that those negotiations are themselves flipping back and forth this way and that. We hear that there is a 14-point memorandum of understanding that may be in draft form, but it's not yet been agreed to by the Iranians or finalized by the I have no idea, because nobody's ever seen it.
No.
At least not yet, not us, and in the public. So
And it's getting frustrating. It's getting frustrating that we keep hearing these little nuggets, these little pieces that we might be going one way or the other. And I have to say, Claire, too, before you continue, I do not consider myself a warmonger in any sense of the word. It's not like I want to go out starting wars.
No, of course not.
But there are a lot of people right now who are feeling very, very incomplete insofar as the president's seeming desire to get a peace deal signed, to say, declare victory, declare that Iran will never get a nuclear weapon, and get out of this so that we can get on with the business of a midterm election in 6 months. And they're saying that if he doesn't finish the job, and that means not just get their promise that, okay, we'll give you everything that we have and we'll agree to your terms and all of these kinds of things. But if he doesn't finish them the way he started them, with the killing of the Ayatollah Khamenei and so many others taking out their leadership, that it's going to have been for nothing, that it's going to have been a waste of time if he doesn't finish this. So I'm not saying I want to go back to war and start the bombing campaign again, but is there some merit to that argument that any agreement that they sign right now will be worth nothing?
Well, we can go back to the image of my article that you posted up there at the beginning of the show here. And it is a piece that I wrote for my Newsmax blog site, where folks can go if they want to see more and other articles I've written, quite a few about Iran over the last year and more. Mm-hmm. This is the blog site at Newsmax. My own blog site is called In Defense of Liberty, and that's where this article was posted on April the 30th. Iran doesn't think like us, and it will continue to string the world along. Or as President Trump sometimes says, it's just tapping us along. Absolutely, that's what they're doing. And what I laid out in the article was the complete disconnect between the way the remnants of whatever's left of that regime, and by the way, those remnants are not clerical. It's not the clergy anymore. It is the IRGC, Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or in Farsi short, Pasdaran. That's who's running things right now. And we can talk about, who's part of that and so forth. But in the article, what I wrote is that these remnants of the regime, and I mean here the IRGC, subscribe to a completely different Weltanschauung, if you will, worldview. And that worldview is not even mainstream within Islamic Shiite jurisprudence or practice, but it is 12er Shiite Islam. And what that is that
I knew that was going to be the key to this whole thing. As you can see, I have this highlighted from your article.
There you
because
go.
that is the story. When you say in your title, in your headline, that Iranians do not think like us,
Well, not Iranians. These
these
Iranians, the
particular Iranians,
Pasdaran
yes,
commanders,
thank you.
not the people. The people are not on board with this.
This is a terrifying explanation you give here. Please go ahead.
So yeah, exactly. I can see the highlighting there. So what this is about, okay, is that all Muslims, Sunni and Shiite and everybody else, pretty much believe in a messianic figure they call the Mahdi. The Mahdi is supposedly a descendant of Muhammad. If he ever lived, we don't have any evidence that he did, but we'll just say that he did. But not identifiable as any particular individual, just a descendant of Muhammad. And he's going to come back at the end of time to usher in the day of judgment, the end of times, and to break the cross, kill the pig. What does that mean? That means to slaughter any remaining Christians and Jews left in the world at that time who do not want to convert over to Islam. But for these Shiite Muslims, specifically followers of the 12th Imam, they believe that after Muhammad, there followed a father-son line of descent down 12 generations. And that brought us to the 800s, the 9th century, something around 870 something or other. And that 12th Imam was a little boy. And as the story goes, and these are all stories, either the family hid him away because they were afraid he'd be assassinated. They were all being killed, you know, Imam after Imam by the rivals. Or alternatively, that little boy fell down a well near Jamkaran, which is a town not far from Qom, which is the Iranian seminary city in the kind of center of the country, fell down a well in Jamkaran and unfortunately drowned. What to do? There's never going to be a 13th Imam. So what they said is this, that little boy, he's not really dead. He's in occultation, meaning hiding. He's in the room with us right now. You don't see him. I don't see him either, but he's in the room with us right now. But that's occultation. And at the end of time, when he comes back to earth, then that will be the end of times. But here's the kicker. These believers in the 12th Imam do not believe, like the rest of Muslims, that the Mahdi is going to come back whenever he thinks it's time for the day of judgment, but rather that they can hasten his return to earth to usher in that day of judgment, end times. How? By instigating Armageddon on earth. Well, how do you do that when you're, the Iranian Pasdaran? You gotta get a nuclear weapon. That's how. And so that is why the ability to develop, to deploy a nuclear weapon is absolutely the sine qua non for these remaining Pasdaran commanders that now run Iran. Without it, they cannot destroy the Jewish state of Israel, which is a prerequisite for the end times, their belief. And they cannot have the fulfillment of their eschatological beliefs. So they got to get a nuclear weapon. And that's why they are holding so stubbornly to that demand in all these negotiations with us, with the United States. But it's also on the other side, President Trump. I have no idea if President Trump or anybody on his team has ever heard of the Mahdi or the 12th Imam. I have no information that they've ever been briefed on that, but that is a red line for the president, and he repeats over and over again whenever he's asked by reporters or whomever. Iran will not get a nuclear weapon. I guess at the very minimum, it's because he knows, without the eschatology part of it, even knows that these guys would use it, and these guys, as I'm talking about, are the last remaining surviving commanders down to the, I don't know what, third, fourth level of command of the IRGC. and we can go through some of who those are if we would like. But those are the guys who are the true believers. They are the most believing, faithful, obedient Shiite 12er Muslims on the face of the earth.
Claire, what you're saying right now is the makings of a great movie. I mean, really, it's really quite an astounding thing. And I've heard you talk about this before in conversations with me and in other places as well. So I understand it to the degree that a layperson, an outsider, can. You beat me to the question with your answer when you said you don't know if anybody in the Trump administration knows this.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, does Marco Rubio know this?
I've never heard a single one of them ever speak of it publicly. That doesn't mean they don't know, but I've never heard, me personally, I've never heard one of them speak about it.
How many people like you are there in the world that know this? People like Robert Spencer, for
Well,
example.
absolutely, Robert Spencer, yes. And
I mean, it's a small handful, I'm going to assume.
I have no way of really knowing that. I would think that scholars of Islam, I would add John Guandolo, Steve Coughlin, Bill Gothrop, yes, of course, Robert Spencer, and there are probably others, Andy Bostom, the ones that come to mind for me, most readily. But certainly in terms of Shiite population, they know this, and there's
Sure.
thousands and thousands, maybe millions, I don't know, of them in Iran. Of course, Iran has a population of something like 92 million, maybe. And of those, as we know, fewer and fewer have been true believers in recent years, to the point that thousands, literally thousands of mosques across Iran have been closing. And that doesn't mean that churches and temples are opening. It just means that the Iranian people want nothing more to do with religion of any kind. And so they probably know about these eschatological beliefs of the 12th Imam, but don't follow or believe in it themselves anymore.
The reason I'm asking how small or large the circle is of people who get this is does anybody have access? Does anybody have the means to talk to a senator, maybe their senator, to talk to somebody that might have somebody in the Oval Office's ear? Because I'm very, very alarmed by, in concession, say alarmed. I'm concerned by, like I said, the president's perceived, and I might be perceiving it all wrong. He's trying to keep the Iranians off balance, keeping me off balance too. Maybe, and I hope I am. But my perception is that the president thinks he can actually get a deal with these people, quote unquote, a deal. And I'm going to quote another article, line from your article, your latest piece on your Newsmax journal. You said, this is, after all, a regime that has violated every agreement it has ever signed, from the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty to the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. Of course, as they would see it, Islamic law obligates faithful Muslims to lie to infidels when the objective is to be achieved, or the objective to be achieved, which is jihad and the destruction of the Jewish state of Israel, likewise is obligatory. So somebody has to get the message here saying, sirs, Secretary of War Hegseth, members of the Joint Chiefs, somebody, please know that this isn't a regime with whom you can deal. They're not going to agree to, or rather, they may agree to a deal, but they're not going to honor a deal. And their desire to achieve that Armageddon you just described, these 12ers, is going to lead, if we don't finish them off, to their ultimate goal being realized. We need to get some access to them.
Yeah, no, really, you're absolutely right there, Bob. But, even if they are not fully aware of all that we just discussed about the eschatology of the 12th Imam, they definitely do know the history of the Iranian regime's non-compliance with prior agreements, like as the article, and you've said, the NPT and the JCPOA. They know that those have been violated, and they understand that this is not, a set of interlocutors that can be believed. They know that much, and maybe that's enough. And of course, as we said before, President Trump and his team are sticking to their red lines, which include no nuclear capability for Iran, and that means that the nuclear sites, Natanz, Isfahan, Fardo, probably Pickaxe Mountain, others may be too, must be dismantled verifiably and attested to by inspectors from the IAEA, International Atomic Energy Agency. That means all the centrifuges, whatever's not blown up already, needs to be dismantled. All of them need to be dismantled. And the highly enriched uranium, which Iran itself has admitted possessing, and I personally think it's probably well above 60%, but okay, 60%. Here's a funny thing. President Trump keeps calling it nuclear dust.
Yes.
Okay. It's
no
not
dust,
dust,
no deal, we're told. No dust, no deal.
Right. It's not dust. It's gas. The way you make a nuclear warhead is you take rocks out of the mountain, extract out of those the isotope of uranium-238 by a chemical process, and you turn it into something called yellow cake. You may have seen photographs of these sort of 9-inch round baking pans, the kind that, we bake layered cakes with, and it's full of a yellow powder. That's been called yellow cake. That then goes through another chemical process to produce uranium hexafluoride, which is a gas, not enriched, but a gas. That gas is then sent to places like Natanz or Fardo with centrifuges to be spun up in those tall tubes, which causes the isotope uranium-235 to fall out. And in repetitive cycles, these tubes are linked together in what they call cascades, dozens, maybe more, linked together. The end product that comes out is highly enriched uranium-235. It's still a gas. And that gas is kept in great big barrels. Those are the barrels that are underneath tons of rubble at Natanz, and we hear Isfahan and Fardo. I don't know for sure about Pickaxe Mountain, but maybe. There yet needs to be one more conversion process with that highly enriched uranium to turn it into metal. Uranium metal. Metallurgy turns it into the hemispheres, the metal uranium hemispheres that go into a warhead. That's how you make a bomb. And what is, we understand, underneath the rubble right now are barrels of highly enriched uranium gas. It's not dust, it's gas. And retrieving it would be quite an operation for anybody. And then what? Destroy it on site, I've heard a possibility, or take it out of those sites to I don't know where. Really a difficult set of operations for these multiple locations. But that's what we're looking at, and that's what President Trump has held to be his red line. That highly enriched uranium must be somehow given up, unearthed, destroyed, removed, whatever, but it cannot remain in possession of this Iranian regime. And then, of course, additionally, the red lines, so the opening of the Strait of Hormuz, and the end of regime support for Islamic jihadi Islamic terror groups like Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthis, the Hashd al-Shaabi in Iraq, and so forth.
I already know more about nuclear bomb making now than probably everybody watching right now knows a heck of a lot more than we ever thought we needed to. To your understanding, Claire, what did Midnight Hammer accomplish last August? Because we were told when that celebrated B-2 bomber run and the president, welcoming them back after 36 straight hours in the air or whatever it was, we were told that we crippled Iran's nuclear capability.
Absolutely.
But now here we are with all of that gas and all of those canisters and all of those barrels you're talking about right now, still buried beneath quote unquote rubble. So
yeah, but there's nothing they can do with them. So Operation Midnight Hammer was last June of 2025,
It's
along with
June.
the
Thank you. Okay.
Israeli Operation Rising Lion, together struck Iran. And yes, our B-2 bombers hit Natanz, Isfahan, and Fardo with those, GBU 57s, those great big bunker buster bombs. And what that did absolutely is crippled Iran's nuclear weapons, program, because those deeply penetrating bombs, maybe they didn't reach all the way down to the bottom, but the explosive power of their detonation certainly destroyed, centrifuges in the halls buried down under. Any highly enriched uranium that might have been maybe in those centrifuges, although perhaps it was removed. We don't know for sure before that. And also, of course, closed up the entrances by sending bombs directly down the air shafts. If you can imagine, that's how precise the bombing was, down the air shafts, which not only exploded deep down under the earth, but they also, closed up the tunnel entrances to those facilities. So yes, the ability of Iran's regime, whatever's left now, to go back to enriching uranium, or the further process of the metallurgy of converting highly enriched uranium into uranium metal hemispheres. They can't do that. They don't have the facilities are bombed to smithereens. Now, if that regime somehow were allowed to survive, and yes, it's the same regime, there has not been regime change until the people of Iran themselves freely and fairly choose their own leadership. But that regime that's left, the remnants of the Pasdaran, they state publicly over and over that they have every intention of trying to reestablish, to rebuild, that nuclear weapons production capability. Now, they cannot do that right now, coupled with, of course, what we did, after February 28th, March the 1st of this year, 2026, in our Operation Epic Fury, and the Israelis called theirs Operation Roaring Lion. At the moment, that ability of the regime to continue to develop nuclear weapons is gone. It's destroyed. Now, what is left would be the knowledge of how to do that inside the heads of anybody who knew how and survived. Any, documents or hard drives or, whatever digital information remains that could reconstitute the program at some point if this regime were allowed to survive. And that's my biggest concern, that we would stop short, not about the nukes, that's done, they're smashed, as are many of the ballistic missile launch sites and storage, stockpiles, although there are some left, in drones too. But my concern is more about the people. Those who remain are really the hardest of the hardcore true believers in the 12th Imam. They cannot have their eschatological beliefs come true unless they get a nuclear weapon and use it against Israel, against us. We know their ballistic missiles now have the range to reach most of the capitals of Europe, for example, not the United States yet, but most of the capitals of Europe: London, Paris, Berlin, Rome, etc. So my concern is the knowledge remains, and the determination remains, the objective remains to reconstitute that nuclear weapons and ballistic missile program, if this regime were not completely eliminated.
So how then, Claire, can the president determine, okay, or not just the president, but the entire military intelligence community, how can they determine, okay, the threat is no longer there? We have now confirmed that Iran will never have a nuclear bomb. if they've got nuclear dust, which you're describing as gas, and they have nuclear know-how in the heads of some of the regime members who may have survived, we don't know who has survived. We don't know what they know. We don't know about the hard drives. We don't know about everything to reconstitute and rebuild it using the gas that they already have, highly enriched and so forth. So it just seems so, I don't know, it's very cloudy, it's murky as far as how quote unquote close they are to getting a nuclear weapon, given all of the given all of the variables that you just described, isn't it?
Yeah, well, what I'll mention is that before June of last year, 2025, and even up to the launch of February 28, March the 1st this year operations, the Iranian regime was very close to the ability to develop a nuclear warhead. Very close. I have no access, have not had access to classified information in years and years, but I do follow the reporting of the IAEA, International Atomic Energy Agency, what they call the good ISIS, that is David Albright's ISIS, which is Institute for Science and International Security, ISIS letters acronym, as well as the regular open press briefings provided by the Iranian opposition group, the National Council of Resistance of Iran. Their Washington, D.C. office is 2 blocks from the White House on Pennsylvania Avenue. And those briefings have been open to the media. And to me, I go and I sit and I take notes myself too. That's where I get my information. And from all of that, what I've realized is that as of, let's just bring it up to last year. I mean, we know they've been working on this stuff forever. The IAEA, first put out, the first time I ever saw it, a report about the Iranian development of warheads in November of 2011 in its quarterly governor's report on Iran. Prior to that, though, I'll go back all the way to August of 2002, when the NCRI, in simultaneous press briefings, one in Paris, the other headquarters outside of Paris, actually, Auvers-sur-Oise, and here in Washington, D.C., August 2002, for the first time then, revealed publicly, at least, the existence of the Iranian nuclear weapons sites at Natanz and other places. Following that, over the years, many more revelations have emerged. And each time, all of that was shared perfectly openly and with the IAEA, with the United States government too. So they all know what this is about. And I will jump again to last year, 2025, in those press briefings. And what we heard was that the Iranians were working on adapting warheads. Now that means the casing, not necessarily the enriched, hemispheres inside, but the casings, the actual physical casings of a nuclear warhead, adapting those to fit and to work on the nose cone of ballistic missiles, which we've just said reach all the way to Europe.
Right.
And what they were doing at places out in the farthest eastern province of, well, not the farthest eastern, but an eastern province of Iran called Semnan province, at ballistic missile sites. They were working on the warheads adapting to the nose cones of those ballistic missiles. And what I mean by adapting them, they have to be miniaturized, what they call ruggedized for reentry. And they have to have the mechanism to set off the explosion. And what that is comprised of is external explosions around the warhead. And those are called exploding bridge wire nuclear detonators. Sorry, more acronyms. But this was described all the way back in that IAEA November 2011 report. They were already working on these things. Exploding bridge wire nuclear detonators. That's what sets off the implosion sequence inside of a warhead where the electrons have to get, excited to go, back and forth between the hemispheres. And that leads to the implosion sequence that sets off the bomb. That's what they were doing last year at these different sites, Sanjarian, Ivanaki, Shahrud. These are ballistic missile sites in Semnan province, and they were briefed to us with satellite imagery openly, publicly, and shared with the US government. I think that maybe in addition to what Steve Witkoff heard from his Iranian counterparts, that they were bragging to him. Remember this news, I forget which channel it was on, but that they were bragging that they had, 60% highly enriched uranium over 400 kilograms, which amounts to close to 1,000 pounds.
And they said they had enough for 11 nuclear bombs at that point.
Could make, within, remember, 10, what did they say, 10 days or something like that?
Yes.
They were that close. That's why President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu realized they had to go.
Yeah, and that's what's so confusing about it. That's why I asked about Midnight Hammer. I wanted to talk about, exactly how degraded their capabilities were then. So much so that, again, so from June to February, it's 8 months. 8 months later, here they are. We got enough for 11, and the ability to do it within a couple of weeks. That's a pretty dramatic turn in just 8 months. Yeah. So capabilities wise, we're covering all of that. You're talking about the materials, you're talking about the knowledge and the technology and so forth. But let's talk more about the people, because you said that the real method of ensuring that Iran is brought to heel and is no longer a threat to carry out what the 12ers want here, to start the nuclear annihilation, the Armageddon, to bring about that 12th Imam. You have to get rid of the regime. Yeah. We've engaged in regime change efforts, of course, in the region, most infamously, of course, with Iraq, and also with the Taliban in Afghanistan. And we know that didn't work. It's going to take the people of Iran to rise up. But as you write in your article, we must understand that the people of Iran are not identifiable with these regime 12ers and their nihilistic eschatological beliefs, but rather have risen up in protest against them time and time again over the last 47 years, only to be repeatedly crushed. Most recently with the slaughter of as many as 50,000 or more Iranian civilian protesters in January of this year. So how do we get this done if it's going to take a change of the regime, but those who have to make the regime change themselves, the courageous people in Iran, are being hung, being slaughtered, Lord only knows how they killed 50,000 in a month, what techniques they used. Right. But if this is what they're facing, then this is what we are facing as we attempt to try to really, eliminate Iran's threat for good.
Right. So regime change is not our job. And indeed, the opposition Iranian figures that I know and have spoken with or listened to do not want American boots on the ground or us to take the lead in regime change. They look at that as their own responsibility. As the people of Iran, that's up to them to do. So what have we done to help to set the conditions that would enable them to do that without being slaughtered by the tens of thousands? And that's why we and the Israelis have taken out so many of the top leadership figures of the IRGC and their subordinate units, Quds Force Basij, also National Police, not all of them. And indeed, the regime long prepared for such an eventuality and established something they called the Mosaic model, which means to devolve command and control down to the local level. There are 31 provinces in Iran, and at each one of those provincial levels, the authority has devolved when, as has happened, communication with formerly centralized command and control was cut off by our strikes, our aerial, elimination strikes, Israel and us. And that's what they're going on right now. it's kind of autopilot, or orders that were given a long time ago, but now communication is cut, and they're just on autopilot going on what they were ordered to do previously. That's the Mosaic model, and to some extent that's still in effect. Now what we did is eliminate much of the top levels, as I said, of the IRGC, which is like 150, 170, 80,000 people. The Besieged, though, are the awful ones. Those are the ones all dressed in black, on the black motorcycles, and they're the ones that were running around in January with machine guns on the back of the pickup trucks and the beds of the pickup trucks, slaughtering people.
Yeah.
The Besieged. There are about 1 million of them. They need to be taken out, certainly their leadership. And that remains to be done. It's not finished. But how to do that? There are many different ethnic groups in Iran. It's not monolithic. The 92 or something population is divided. Maybe 50% or so are Persian. Another maybe 30%, maybe as many as 30% are Azeri. The former supreme leader, by the way, neither he nor his son ever attained the rank of Ayatollah. They're not Ayatollahs. They were Hojatul Islams. But never mind. They were Azeris. The northern part of Iran borders on Azerbaijan.
Yeah.
Same people across the border. That's why Iran is so wary of Azerbaijan, for fear that the populations at some point might unite. In any case, so that comes up to about 80% there. The remaining 20% or something like that, 20-25% of the population are a variety of ethnic groups. Baluchis on the south eastern border with Pakistan, spanning over the border. They want their independence from Pakistan. They want their independence from Tehran. The Azeris, of course, again, up in the north. The Turkmen are up in the north by the Caspian Sea, come around to the Kurds, a very large population spanning the border again, Iran and Iraq. They are also, of course, as we know, located in Turkey and in Syria, or whatever used to be Syria. But for our interest, it's Iran spanning over the border to Iraq, and then come all the way down to the southwestern coastline up against the Persian Gulf. And there you have the Ahwaz Arabs. They're Arab. They are not Persian. They don't want to speak Farsi. They want their schools to teach their kids in the Arabic language. They want done with Tehran and Persians. So that population already, especially the ones on the border, Baluchis, Kurds, I'll name the Ahwaz Arabs too, have been armed for years and in armed rebellion against the center, but they've been too few weapons, not well organized. The Kurds especially are notorious for inter-Kurdish factional, or I should say intra-Kurdish factional disputing. And so that kept them back. But these are the people, along with the Mujahideen-e-Khalq, MEK. Mujahideen-e-Khalq in Farsi means the people's fighters, or fighters for the people. And this is the armed resistance inside of Iran that is the on-the-ground resistance element of the NCRI, that umbrella political group I mentioned before, National Council of Resistance of Iran, with headquarters in Paris and Washington, D.C. Also a large group of them, and of all places, they found refuge in Albania. But the MEK are the resistance forces on the ground in all 31 provinces, unlike the ethnic groups which are, locally present in their own ethnic geographical areas. The MEK is all over the entire country, command and control, organization. They've been armed and fighting. As a matter of fact, they started fighting the Shah first. Why? Because they didn't want a monarchy. They want a democratic style republic. Secular democratic republic is what they want. So they fought the Shah. They thought the Ayatollah Khomeini was going to be their, I don't know, salvation. He wasn't. He started, I mean, just gunning them all down in the street as soon as he took power. That's why they fled to Iraq and elsewhere eventually after that. But these are the groups that need our help. Not
Okay.
that we need to have our boots on the ground, but to help them with weapons, communications, and intelligence.
What I want to know, Claire, because you just gave us a whole lot of groups that most people have no idea about. And I don't have a ton of an idea. I know about some of the ones only because I've talked to you so many times. But let's talk about the people that we do know and why are we isolated? Why are we, along with Israel, pretty much on our own? Where are the European allies that you just mentioned that are within striking distance of their Iran's ballistic missiles? Why are we not getting cooperation and assistance from the Western European allies in the United Nations, in NATO, to stop, to help end this threat by ending the regime you're talking about?
Well, exactly so. And they just were shy of getting involved. They looked at it as someplace far away, although those European nations get oil out of the Persian Gulf and are lacking it because ships can't get in or out now. They depend.
Pretty good motivation for them, right? Pretty good motivation for them. I said that's pretty good motivation for them to get involved. And yet, even without their energy, they're still
should have been at the very minimum at the United Nations to stand up for the rights of the Iranian people and to to denounce and condemn the slaughter by the regime of their peacefully protesting civilians. But they didn't even do that. Although I will say now, the British have dispatched, as I've heard, I guess it's an air defense destroyer ship. I think it's called the, I forget the name of it.
That's all right.
And the French are sending their one and only aircraft carrier, which is called the Charles de Gaulle. I don't think they're there yet, but they're en route finally to help to regulate traffic in and out of the Strait of Hormuz. But aside from some smaller vessels from countries like, I believe, Poland and Czech Republic, maybe, if you could imagine, smaller vessels that they already have sent, there just hasn't been much. And this is also what the resistance is looking for. International condemnation of the human rights abuses of this regime, the slaughter of innocent protesters in the streets, the torture, the rape of their young people, I mean, men and women in the jails, the hanging, the executions going on to this day, every day in a regime attempt to dissuade the people from rising up anymore, from taking to the streets anymore. So it's not boots on the ground that are necessary. It is international involvement at the UN level, Security Council level, although that'd probably get vetoed by others. But also, I think this provision of assistance from the outside to these groups, which do have, borders on the geographical periphery of Iran, making it easier to get things in. Again, weapons, communications, and intelligence. Thank you, Elon Musk, for example, for providing, free access to Starlink for internet connectivity. I think they're just beginning to restore the internet inside of Iran now, 30–40% they're up to now, or some such number. But even for Starlink, they still had to smuggle in the dishes, the equipment that are needed to receive, even though it's being provided free, and people that were caught with these dishes are executed.
Exactly.
So,
just like the protesters.
All of that and more. That's what's needed. But certainly, the international condemnation by the leading, Western, not just even NATO, but Western countries and others. I'm thinking of East Asia too, that also depend on Persian Gulf oil, not coming from Iran necessarily, but maybe from Kuwait or Bahrain or Emirates or Saudi Arabia. Japan.
That being the case, I want to jump in on that real quick because I'm going to ask about the obvious, which is China. President Trump, of course, just met with Xi Jinping about a week ago. they are obviously allied with Iran and have been. You know, it's a part of the Red Green Axis. But of course, they need the energy, and you know, we're blockading the strait and all of the other Iranian ports as well. You would think that they would want everything opened up again because their people are starving in terms of energy and need and fuel shortages and so forth. So,
You would think.
what's China? Yeah, what's China's role going to be with respect to their ally?
What they've done instead, the CCP, is to try to open up overland routes for the provision of oil from the Persian Gulf to China. Also, Russia, bordering, of course, as it does on the Caspian Sea, trying to use that as you know, an entry point. And here I'm talking about assistance from Russia, from China into Iran, and that includes not just satellite, you know, surveillance imagery of U.S. forces and bases to be attacked by Iran, but also the provision of parts. For example, China has at least one ship, maybe more, been interdicted at sea carrying sodium perchlorate. That is a precursor chemical that's needed for the solid rocket fuel propellant that goes into Iran's ballistic missiles. But because we and the Israelis have taken out all their industrial production sites for such precursor chemicals, they're relying on, you know, outside China, you know, to get those supplies in, that kind of thing. Plus also other parts for drones, for example. Even though they don't have ballistic missiles left, except trying to dig them out of wherever their underground bunkers, they've been able to get drones out, which are deadly, to attack shipping, and to attack their Arab neighbors, including civilian sites at those places, like the Kuwaiti airport, like you know, residential areas, and also you know, industrial sites like you know, oil storage tanker sites in the Emirates, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, even Oman has gotten hit. So these are the ways that they're still trying to, you know, keep the exchanges going, even though the strait itself is pretty well, you know, blocked up, blockaded by the United States and our naval assets there.
Right. So, Claire, we'll wrap our very in-depth conversation with crystal ball time here.
Oh dear.
Again, you know, we started talking about this whiplash effect. Oh, it's going to be over. Oh, we're about to start bombing again, and maybe some other people too. I just, and again, we're 6 months away from the midterm election. I hate to make this political, but it has to be. I mean, you know, it's one thing I've been trying to tell everybody who's critical of the president's decision to go into this quote unquote war of choice. There's no way he would choose this in his second year of this new term, knowing full well that control of the Congress in November, as decided in November, is going to determine whether his agenda gets implemented for 4 years or not, or if literally it's back to investigations and impeachments again, because that's what's coming. So I feel like there's no way he goes into this in this midterm year unless we absolutely must. And I think you made a very good case for why that had to be. But now we're here, and again, we're tick-tocking our way to November, and we're still in whiplash mode. What is your best prediction, knowing that you don't have said crystal ball, but knowing what you know about the need and how it can best be won versus the challenges of having it being won? Do you believe? Do you think how much longer, I guess, is going to be my question, until a satisfactory resolution will be reached?
Well, the first message that has to get through to all of us, the American people, is what do you think is going to happen to oil prices if Iran is allowed to get a nuclear weapons deliverable capability and uses it? Where do you think oil prices are going to go then? Don't you think it's worth paying a little more? I'm you know, around what, 4.50 or 60 cents a gallon around where I live now, worth paying that to avoid nuclear holocaust, nuclear Armageddon, which is what they would do if we let this go? That overrides everything else. Armageddon, apocalypse, versus 4.50 a gallon gasoline for a time. what's going to happen? I think that President Trump and his team are going to run out of patience in the near rather than longer term. The Iranians are proving completely intransigent, obdurate about these conditions that the president has set forth. Again, number one, no nuclear capability. The nuclear sites must be dismantled. That means centrifuges dismantled. The HEU, highly enriched uranium, must be taken out and either destroyed on site, verifiably by IAEA, or removed out of the country entirely. No, not to China or Russia, but elsewhere, United States. The Strait of Hormuz must be opened without any kind of Iranian regime control over it, or ability, with or without Oman, to exact tolls or fees or whatever they want to call it. Simply free passage. That is an international waterway under the United Nations law of the sea. It is not like a man-made canal, which requires daily maintenance and upkeep, like the Panama Canal or the Suez Canal. They must be managed on a daily basis. There's a reason to require tolls passing through there, because the maintenance and the daily management of those locks require a good amount of financial input. So the opening, complete opening, free passage, complete international waterway opening of the Strait of Hormuz, and then also cessation of any kind of attacks against their neighbors, that is the regime's neighbors in the Persian Gulf region, and an end to any kind of support for the Islamic jihadi terror groups like Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthis, Hashd-e-Shaabi.
Yeah, and that's crucial. I mean, it's kind of bizarre. We have all known and discussed Iran as being the world's leading state sponsor of terror because they export those proxies. We've talked about it over and over and over again, and that has been lost in everything just because of the nuclear threat. Even prior to, well, I shouldn't say prior to, but prior to maybe the more worldwide revelation of exactly how close they were and are to getting a bomb, we just used to think about them and their terror proxies. And now we haven't even talked about Hamas or Hezbollah very much at all. I know Israel has been going at it with Lebanon and Hezbollah for a while, even during the ceasefire between.
Which, by the way, Hezbollah and Lebanon and Israel completely separate from these talks and these negotiations with Iran. Separate, completely separate issue.
Yeah, very important point there. But yeah, that has to be a part. Part of the agreement is going to have to be contingent on them no longer funding those terror groups to carry out their evil deeds against surrounding nations and of course American assets and allies as well. Claire Lopez, really, really appreciate you. I've been flashing your X account up there on the screen a couple of times. It's at Claire M. Lopez. We want people to know about that. Make sure you follow her. Read her work, her blog posts on newsmax.com. She is filled with so much information, more than most people in this country and maybe in this world even could imagine, about not only Iran, but about the entire Islamic threat and beyond. So Claire, thank you so much for coming on and enlightening us. We'll keep watching, we'll keep reading, and the next. Okay, we're going to go ahead and stop it there. Obviously, you don't need to see me in stereo, if you will. Oops, that's the wrong one. There's the right one. She is a wealth of information, obviously overflowing. She has so much history and so much knowledge about Iran and about the Middle East and all of the different tribes of people there and what this whole thing is all about. So I don't know how it ends. That's why I asked for her crystal ball prediction at the end of that. I don't know how the Iran war ends. I hope it isn't just a declaration of an ending. Okay, the war is over. It has to be won, because of the radical ideology that they're talking about and that she was just talking about, and the belief in hastening the arrival of the end days by way of the nuclear destruction of either Israel or Europe or anywhere else that would bring that about. Hastening the 12th Imam, which they're talking about, which many people, I think, probably very accurately see as potentially the Antichrist. That's just kind of the way you know, the way the whole thing smells. All right, that's going to do it for us today. I'm going to let it loose here. Thank you so much for being a part of it. I got a little bit unfiltered, hence the name of the show. In the first hour, talking about Juan Williams and the left's response to the war that has been declared on law and order and decent people in this country, as we saw over the weekend in Newark. It's not anywhere near over. Tomorrow morning, Peter Kirsanow will be with us live again, or if you're watching on replay, it'll be whenever. But Peter Kirsanow will, he is the United States Civil Rights Commissioner, and he will join us to talk about all of these things going on, the kind of war, small W for now, that is going on in the streets of the United States as the left has declared war on Donald Trump and all things, you know, like I said, having to do with America, with American law, with American responsibility, and so forth. And the question is whether or not we're going to fight it back, and whether or not we are going to fight to win it. I hate to use that terminology because it implies, you know, death and destruction and so forth, but it is what it is. It's what they have brought upon all of us. All right. Thank you to you for watching. Thank you to Claire Lopez. Again, that was supposed to air this past Friday. We had some glitches, but we got it to you today. And that's going to do it for us. As always, until next time. Don't forget to register, by the way. Get to my social media pages on Facebook. Both of the two pages on Facebook, look for Strictly Speaking and Bob France, and it's also on the Locals community page as well. Get your registration in to join us on the bus June 22nd as we head to Columbus for an AFP, for an American for Prosperity event, but it is bigger than that. It is, of course, America 250, celebrating America one small step at a time. That's the theme of the event. I'll be speaking in Columbus on June 22nd. And we're going to fill a bus full of people from Northeast Ohio to join Buckeyes from all around the state in Columbus on June 22nd. I want you to be one of those. So find that link, register, reserve your spot. And obviously, we look forward to seeing you then. Thanks, everybody. Be well, be safe, stay free. Bye-bye.